The following Defending Our America episode is presented without commercial interruption by SIGSAUER.
We have tied the hands of our military, our intelligence professionals. The rules of engagement that our military has to abide by has cost innocent lives of Iraqi and Afghan civilians, and has cost the lives of American soldiers who have paid dearly because they've tried their best to abide by those rules of engagement.
You know, President Obama, we will never torture, we won't do this, we won't waterboard, we won't do any harsh and we won't even talk meanly to anybody. You know, we're gonna be friends with the world. Where does that get us? It gets us Boston Marathon bombings, it gets us Times Square bombings, because that doesn't translate. It doesn't translate to people who hate us.
The term waterboarding should never have ever been made public.
So I think what part of the problem is that there are so many Americans out there that will never actually take the time to learn the difference between what is just enhanced interrogation, what's regular interrogation, and what's torture. So if you say torture, a bunch of things that are actually never even qualify as that go into their brain bucket as this is what torture is.
I mean, look, let me tell you what torture is. I'm not looking for
shouldn't even be
information.
advertised.
Dude,
I've been
huge.
laughed at by bad guys in Afghanistan who say, here we go, take me in, because I know what you're not going to do. Because you tell everybody what you're not going to do anymore. So anything else has got to be better than that.
Bad guys read newspapers and watch television.
And unfortunately, those people who hate us use violence as their tool. And one of their means is torture. They torture the innocent, they torture anybody.
You know, it makes no sense to me why we would do things like that to make our job harder. You can disagree with something that's being done. You can disagree with a policy. But to turn it into a political football just so you can discredit an administration that happens to be in power at the time, to me, that's criminal. You're placing the lives of American soldiers and American civilians who are on the front lines, you're placing those lives at risk.
When we show a lack of willingness to do anything to stop them, it shows tremendous weakness. And I can tell you firsthand experience that the threat of torture, not I am going to torture you, not anybody saying anything, but the perceived threat that they might get tortured has led to people on the battlefield that I've interrogated giving everything up because they feared what might happen to them.
In Iraq, we arrested a guy who happened to be one of the leaders of the insurgency. He was part of the funding operation. There was a group of 3 individuals that had $94 billion in currency and gold from Saddam that were funding the entire insurgency. They were working directly with Al-Qaeda. Osama bin Laden was providing manpower. These guys were running the insurgency. We captured one of the guys, and it took us weeks to do it, and we were working very closely with the task force. And when we get the guy, we're in there interrogating him. And while we're interrogating him, he's basically laughing at our Iraqi counterpart because he didn't have him. And my Iraqi buddy realizes this guy's laughing at me because he thinks the Americans have him and he's safe. He's gonna get 3 square meals a day. He's gonna be taken care of. He can shut up, not say anything. So my Iraqi buddy walks up to the guy and whispers in his ear, by the way, you're not their prisoner. You're my prisoner. They just haven't told you yet. In 1 hour, you come with me. The guy broke down crying, and I mean crying, tears streaming down his face, screaming, no, 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 you can't take me, you can't give me to the Iraqis. And I didn't hear what my buddy said because he said it in Arabic, and I turned to my buddy and I said, what'd you say? And he said, I told him I'm taking him. So I turned to the guy and I said, we got less than an hour left. You know, we've tried all evening to try and get answers from you, to get the truth from you, and all you've done is obfuscate. My hands are tied. I have to give you over to the guys. It's their laws you violated, not mine. The guy breaks down crying. I'll give you my father, I'll give you everybody, I'll give you the whole organization. Spends the next 3 hours making phone calls, giving everybody up, and then I said to him later, why'd you break? And he said, they would have done to me what I would have done to them.
And that's the bad part about them going publicly and saying
Americans
will never use torture. You don't want them to do it, that's fine. You tell them, hey, don't use torture anymore. You do it quietly.
No,
you
say,
don't make it public to where everybody's like,
no, make it public.
Don't force me.
Hell yeah, make it public.
Don't force me into having to do things I don't want to do.
Next time on Defending Our America.
Let me tell a little story about my buddy, I'll call him Omar. He's an Iraqi cop. He's the top counterterrorism guy in Iraq for the Iraqis, one of my best friends for the past decade. He describes America as a plate of honey. The jihadists are more like bees, and they look for that honey, and they're going to come to it. And we pour a little bit of that honey, put it in a little dish, and that's the military in Iraq. And that's what they come to. They attack because it's easy. It's easy to get to that little dish of honey because it's not as protected as that big dish. In Afghanistan, another little dish of honey, the American military on the ground in Afghanistan. Once you pull those little dishes back, you're putting them back in that big plate of honey.
They have no choice.
You are not taking away their desire. You're bringing their desire home.